Okay, all right, all right. Let's go, let's go, let's go. How are we doing? It's Monday at noon. It's 26 degrees outside. This is friggin' ridiculous. Now, okay? This is just friggin' ridiculous. Oh, so how do we do last night in the NHL before I get to the chat? It was what we have? 6 games yesterday. The Canucks beat the Devils. That's good. The Mammoth beat the Penguins in overtime. The Hurricanes beat the Flyers. Shootout. The Wild beat the Bruins. Good for us. The Canadians beat the Oilers. Not so good for us. Was that who was in net? It was still Picard. Yeah, not so good, Edmonton. And then the Sabres beat the Kraken. So that leaves the Atlantic Division point. The Bruins are dipping. So you got the you got the Lightning and the Wings at 39 points, the Canadians and Bruins at 38, and the Panthers at 34. The Leafs at 33, Senators 32, and the Sabres at 32. And who's got the wild card right now? I'm assuming the Bruins got one of them at 38. And the Flyers have the other one at 38. Flyers have lost 3. The Penguins have lost 5. The Jackets have lost 5 in a row. So things are starting to separate out just a wee bit here. But I still suspect we'll see some craziness. How are we doing? Hey, CJ, thanks for being a new member. Appreciate that. Thanks, bud. Much appreciated. Trent says, I heard Dougie Hamilton might be on the trade block. I know we're not talking about making a trade, but him and Kulikov in the bottom pair would be really good. So my question there, Trent, would be why would New Jersey want to trade him? New Jersey is should be loading up for a run here, you would think. So that's interesting that if he would be on the trade block. I guess the question at that point would be why, and would New Jersey help us out? I can't imagine what his contract is. Sure, Hamilton Kulikov bottom pair, but I don't think that's the way it would work, right? Hamilton is he's got a $9 million cap hit, and he's got term. He's still got 2 more years after this contract. Well, that might explain why New Jersey's trying to move him. So he's at $9 million, and he's only in year 5 of 7. So I don't suppose that. Why? I guess New Jersey's trying to clear out space. He's still playing 21 minutes a night, which that's kind of top pair minutes. That's or second pair with a lot of power play and PK time. His ice time hasn't diminished at all. Interesting. Hey, Scientist says another Boosie update. He now has 9 straight wins, 11-1 total, which ties for most consecutive wins in Canes franchise history. Not a bad way to kick off your NHL career. When you look up, take advantage of your opportunities in the dictionary, there's a picture of this guy. No doubt, man. You know what I mean? Hey, Miami Sports. We talked about Reichel yesterday. I don't suppose anything like that's going to happen. He, for whatever reason, a number of teams have passed on him. So I don't suppose that's going to be someone that comes our way. Mythical says, if Stamkos came to the Panthers, I'd love to see Jaw's reaction and how do we decorate the Christmas tree. So we get a real tree, not, when I say a real tree, I mean a real tree that's in a pot that's still alive. It's usually not a normal, it's not like a Christmas tree, but it is a pine tree. And then we plant it in the yard once spring comes. And it's very sparsely decorated. I have my dog ornaments. They're glass. They're blown glass, so they're in the window so the light can shine through them. And Kyle's got some of his ornaments on there. Matthias made some paper, some snowflakes. He did some art that way. And the being that we don't get a regular tree, there's not like a big thing at the top. So Kyle does that. Last year was the first time we didn't have a tree because we were in Florida. Oh, and in terms of if Stamkos came to the Panthers, no, I don't want to get on the whole spiel about the money. If Stamkos was on the last year of his contract making $1 million and they put him at 4C, I'd be like, all right, sounds good. We're loading up for a run. But the reality of the situation just doesn't allow for it to be anything exciting because somebody else would be going out the other direction. Yeah, hungry man, Rob Reiner, right? Unbelievable. I didn't know that. I woke up this morning and saw that, and yeah, just I heard they might be looking at his son. I haven't heard anything past just what happened, and a couple people in the comments said they might be looking at his kid. So I better be nice to Kyle, I guess, right? You know what I mean? Scientist says, so the Lightning have a healthy forward group and a depleted defense goalie tandem. The Panthers are the opposite. Given these circumstances, how do I think tonight will play out? It's an interesting question. It's the last game of a road trip for us, even though Tampa, I barely consider Tampa a road game because they could just ride their bike to the arena, basically. I have a feeling that what happened in Colorado, the Panthers wanted to make sure that they amended for that. They made amends for that. And we did that in Dallas. So what I would hope to see tonight is a nice, boring, nobody try and get physical and do anything stupid. Just a quite literal, boring middle of the season game that everybody forgets, and we win like 4-4. That's real smart, Joss. Real smart, you idiot. That we win like 4-2. You know, and I would suspect Lightning fans would like the same thing. I don't want to see anybody get hurt right now. Just put the pettiness and the fights aside until and unless we get back to a playoff round against them. Oleshka says we're playing Little Brother tonight. Yeah. Kind of like how the Stars that he has Big Bro until they can take them out. Yeah, it's well, we'll see, you know. At some point, Little Brother and Big Brother become unk. You know what I mean? At some point, the Panthers and the Lightning will both be unk, and there'll be a new young smart-ass kid in town. Right? Hey, David. What Miami Sports? What if we trade for Tom Wilson? Nah, that's not happening for a few more years. Now, I've always joked about that because we always get the old guys at the end, right? But he is in the middle of Jesus. He's only in year 2 of a 7-year contract. Now, his cap hit's not a big deal, but he's 31. He won't come be on our 4th line for about another 4 years. Give that contract some time because first Brady Tkachuk has to show up, and then it'll be Tom Wilson that shows up. And then at some point we'll have a fourth line of like Bennett, Tkachuk, and Wilson. CJ. David says, F that, we want 500 penalty minutes. Man, the Sun is the prime suspect. Jeez, man. Mitherville says, boring middle of the season game this close in points versus the Lightning. Give me what you're smoking. There's going to be some fights. Craig says, so the opposite. Well, maybe that's fine. That's fine. You know what I mean? Like, I already got everything I needed. You know what I mean? I've lived. I had the big house by the river all the time to spend with my dogs. Got 2 cups. I'm good. I don't need much more. Ain't nothing left. Ain't nothing left worth bickering over. I think I've already gotten everything I had already wanted in my life. And yeah, so I'll go live under the bridge in my van somewhere where it's warm. Where it's warm. That's for sure. You won't find me in Alaska. Mike says, time for season's beatings tonight. Better get at least 300 penalty minutes. CJ, we have that energetic player. He's just injured right now with Gadjevich. We've got him. He's just not on the ice. You know what I mean? And Kachuk. Gold says, I said, you think the Penguins are doing pretty good as Unk? Yeah, right now, exactly. Good point, Goat Slayer. Right now, the Penguins are Unk. And we're like the siblings. But it won't be long, Goat Slayer. Another 2-3 years, we're gonna be Unk. And it'll be like Ottawa and Montreal will be little brother and big brother at some point. Hey, Kenneth, we did it. We got rid of the Chiefs. Congratulations. Thank you. Hey, Jeff, how you doing, bud? He says, how do I do this stream at lunch every day and I'm never eating? Order a pizza or something. How you doing, buddy? Well, I can only afford to have 2 meals a day, so I have breakfast and dinner. That's oh, yeah. I'm not a big middle of the day eater. Jeff, when you get to be my age, if you eat a big meal for lunch, you sleep the whole afternoon through. David says, also, whoever picked the Monday night game tonight probably got fired, right? Yeah, we should have everybody back by the time we get to the playoffs. We should have everybody back. Wouldn't mind. I mean, I wouldn't, Lomberg was one of those guys where we just couldn't afford to keep him. But Gadjevich is a very suitable replacement. And, don't leave out Greer, too. Remember, Greer is just playing a different role on the third line right now. But when he's rolling on the fourth line, very happy with the team that we have. They're just all off the damn ice right now. Nalechka says Greer will whoop ass. Yeah. Trent says we need to make the playoffs first. I'm starting to feel good, though. Jess says I had a great trip to Sunrise for the Columbus and Isles games. You're also not that much older than me, brother. I thought I was a solid. Have you turned 40 yet, Jeff? Have you turned 40 yet? Let me tell you, the difference between 44 and 54 is it's unspeakable. Like at 44, you can. Oh, you're 42. Oh, dude, at 42, you can still do about 80% of the things that you could do in your 30s. You're just a little bit slower. By the time you get to 54, you can maybe do about 10% of the things you used to do in your 40s, and you put yourself in a coma or a cast if you even attempt. It's all good. Oh, so you're young. Jeff's a young dude. I would pay. Well, I don't want to go. Well, if I went back to when I was 42, that's when I got fluffy. Yeah. What? I hear something barking. Might be Leia. Yeah, you have a heart thing, a liver disease, and the knees of a 70-year-old. Yikes. All right, well, then I can understand that. Jeez, man. Sorry to hear that, man. But it's what I won't say to anybody what my dad says. He says, "Oh, you see nothing yet." When I complain about my joint pain, he says, "Oh, you ain't seen nothing yet." It's like We all got our shit, but each, you know what I mean? I never begrudge anybody their pain because, we're all doing the same thing, man. We're all just getting up and gutting it out and going to work and doing what we have to do. I'm fairly certain about 95% of us would just be sitting on a beach somewhere or in a boat fishing if we had the choice. You know what I mean? David says, I'm 56, but 135 in Coke years. Oh, geez, Dave. Kenneth says, I slipped on the ice and fell shoveling. Today I'm 41, so I didn't break anything, but quite sore. Oh, yeah. Yeah. When's the last time I had a good fall? I'm careful about it now. Jess says, I don't feel sorry for myself. Someone always has it worse. I'm still able to work enough to afford hockey trips. That's the important thing. As long as you can, do the things that bring you enjoyment and get that out of life. That's really all. It's all there is, man. You know what I mean? That's why all those years I made my enjoyment to taking the dogs to the river and the beach. That was my hockey trips. That was my hockey trips. So it was a good life. David says, don't feel sorry for me, LOL. I've been around the world partying the whole way, had a blast. Exactly, David. That's like what I say to people. It's like, I've already lived my life. Like, and you guys that know my stories or have read my book, like I lived, you know what I mean? Like if I wake up dead tomorrow, there ain't nobody could say, oh my God, you might say I was young, but I've lived so many different lifetimes. I can't complain about it at all. CJ says you need those tread track shoes for the snow with the metal. What's funny is when I got to I got to Eielson Air Force Base when I was in the military. I was in Alaska, and I was 18, so of course I was invincible, right? And they all told me, "Hey man, don't make sure you got your boots on when it's snowing and ice, because if you leave your tennis shoes on, you're gonna fall. You're gonna slip all over the place." Come on, I'm not gonna fall. Well, I go into the BX, and when I came out, there wasn't steps. It was just a ramp. It was just a ramp so that the handicap could have access. So it was not steps. And so I got one step out of the BX and my ass hit the ground, hit the ice. And I went, you know how they have the long ramps with the rails. Okay. I just smacked my ass down and just all the way down, the whole length of the building, the whole damn length of the building, and then ass right into the snow. I wore my boots from now on. Yeah, I wore my boots. I didn't get hurt. Didn't hurt, but it sure wasn't. Yeah, people were I was sliding down and people were just walking past me, just laughing. And nobody like tried to catch me because they figured they would have gotten taken down too. So the world is still the same. It's just, I wish people had phones then. That would have been awesome if somebody would have caught that on phone. Would have made a good it would have made a good part for the fight song. Would have made good footage for the fight song. Mythical says there's hope, thank goodness, for TRT. Yeah, Mythical. I didn't need it before the Lyme. I was fine. But now without TRT, nah, man, I would be on disability without TRT. No. My body got absolutely fried by that crap. Craig says salute on the way down. Yeah, they literally did. They moved out of the way. They did move out of the way, but they were just laughing at me. There you go. Just gone. Oh, man. Kenneth says, I'm too used to snow and ice to fall. Well, yeah. It's all good. We all do the same thing in one shape, form, or another. You know what I mean? I remember water skiing and during breakup, and we were water. It was a game we would play during when the ice would break up in the lakes. The guys would bring their boats out there, and you'd water ski, and instead of Solomon around, um, cones and balls and whatnot, you just had to go in between the chunks of ice. It was you do stupid stuff. What can you do? So what do we got tonight? Because I know I talked about the games that we had last night. Tonight's a small smattering of games as well. Panthers Lightning at 7, Ducks Rangers, Senators Jets, Kings Stars, and Preds Blues. So that's it. Not a whole lot going on tonight. Kenneth says that's living. It ain't no joke, man. So now don't forget, I'm still going to have the members pregame stream tonight, but it's going to be, I'm going to make it members only for the football, on the football channel and the hockey channel, which I suppose anybody that's a member on the football channel would also be on the hockey. You know what I'm saying? But I'll post links to both. And then Kyle and I are going to call both games tonight. So we're not going to call it at the exact same time. We're not going to talk at the same time. Trent, how many points do I think it's going to take to win the Atlantic? That's a good question. So the Lightning have 39 points. Let's go to my favorite site, which is the standings from last year. This is my new favorite site. So last year on December 15th, the Leafs were in first place with 40 points. And then Florida at 38, Boston 35, Tampa 34. So the Lightning are only 1 point off. How many games had Toronto played? What's that? Toronto had played one more game. So basically, in the Atlantic, the points, you could argue that you're probably going to need more points because it was 40, 38, 35, 34, where now it's 39, 39, 38, 38. So there's actually more points in probably because of all the overtime games. So Maple Leafs had 108 points last year. Lightning had 102. I would suspect it's probably going to take almost 110 points to win the division this year. That would be my expectation, because I don't think Tampa's got 39 points already, and they've had their injury issues. So yeah, 110, I would think. Just says go Raiders. Yeah, man, you guys are doing great. In your hunt, are you guys? Let me see. Who's got the number one pick right now? Is it the Raiders are 2-12? The Titans are 2-12. What about in the NFC? Does anybody? The Giants are 2-12. So let's see. The Raiders, do they have a tiebreaker against these bad teams? Jeez, man. The Raiders beat the Titans. You dumbasses. That was stupid. So the Raiders beat the Titans. So I think the Titans have the advantage here to get the number one pick. How many points do I think the Panthers are going to get? Well, last year at this point we had 38. And right now, what are we at? 33, 34. So how many games have we played at 31? We had 31. Last year we had played 31. So we're 4 points off of our pace from last year. Last year we finished with 98 points. To be honest, I would kind of figured about the same thing. I think we'll catch up to last year's pace, maybe get to 100 points. I know that might sound crazy because of where we've been, but when you take away all of the injuries, when you take away all of the circumstances and how it's looked, when you forget about all that, we're 4 points off of last year's pace. Without Barkov, Kachuk, all the guys. That's pretty damn good when you really think about it, that we would lose all of those players and only be 2 games off of the pace where we were last year. Last year, after 30, we were 18-11-2, and now we're 16-13-2. So quite literally 2 games. So, and what's interesting again is that the goals against, well, you look at that. So last year we had scored in the same number of games. We had scored 108 goals and allowed 99. And we've actually caught up where we've actually allowed 99 goals in the same number of games again. But we're 10 goals off on our goals scored. We've only scored 98 goals. When you look at it all, it just all perfectly lines up and makes sense with the guys that we're missing and the results we've been getting. Dave says division winners usually 104 to 115 points. Yeah, about 110. CJ, well, the Steelers got to win to stay in, that's for sure. Mithril says, honestly, the best thing about the Raiders is they have a good head coach in Pete Carroll. Hopefully they don't keep switching head coaches. Jeff says, got to nail the tank down. Got to keep playing Geno. Can't keep playing Geno Smith. I don't know. Who's left on the – because, I mean, there's what, 4 teams? There's 4 teams with 2 wins. It's going to be tough. You guys could end up with the 4th pick. Kenny says, get Jamarcus Russell to come out of retirement for the Raiders. Aleshka says, we have a team full of dogs. That's why. Exactly. David says, Jamarcus only unretiring to enter the July 4th hot dog eating contest. Oh, damn, Dave. Craig says, the Philly guys have gotten noticeably better the last 5 games or so. Yeah. I feel like that's, you could say that about mostly everybody, right? So that, like I keep saying, when we got down 4-1 to Columbus, and it just something in them clicked for sure. And no, is that you, Kyle? Glad to see you're alive and awake. That's good. All right, carry on. Kyle's just now getting up. Jeff says, with my luck, the Raiders will win out. Who you guys got left? Let me see. The Raiders still have to play the Texans, the Giants, and the Chiefs. So you're going to have an opportunity there to lose to the Giants. But unfortunately, we need you to beat the Texans for the Dolphins' imaginary playoff hopes. Imaginary, right? Flower says, Joss on 12/21, As versus the Wild with Hughes will be a good game. Yeah, they're playing each other that soon. That should be good. When is Jari going to play? Kenneth says, winning out is the Browns thing. Or the Dolphins, right? I mean, the Dolphins could legit win out and get to 10 games and not make it in. Honestly, the odds of them making it in, at even with 10 wins, is like, geez. But Dart until next year? Jeez. Now, when did that news break? Because I haven't seen, is it just breaking now? Yeah. I mean, I knew he had gotten hurt, but now, but next year, as in like until CBS Sports says until January. So you mean next year as in 2026? Let me read what CBS is saying. Yeah, CBS Sports is out until January. Said he won't need surgery, but will be sidelined until the calendar flips to 2026. All right. So at least it's not something where he's going to be out for the whole year. That would suck. Mythical says, would I keep McDaniels or fire him if he went out with 10 games? To be honest with you, well, if you're asking what I would do, if we have to come back with Tua, I say you may as well bring McDaniel back and give him another year to sort out his deficiencies. And the reason why I say that is because the players obviously are playing hard for him. You know, Vincent says, coming in the middle of the stream, hearing random football shit or whatever means there's no big news here. That's correct. We haven't made any trades, Vincent. That's correct. Yeah, Kenneth. The Dolphins can't. There's really we can't catch anybody unless they lose a bunch of games. So. Let me get back to what was I? Oh, yeah. No, so that's good that Bedard's not even out that much longer because I want them to make we need the Blackhawks and Sharks in the playoffs. Now, I don't think we're going to get both, even though the Ducks are slipping here a little bit recently. But I'd like to see at least one. So it'll be interesting to see if the Blackhawks can hold serve while Bedard is out. That's going to be tough. I'm still too old to play either sport. Well, I already knew that. Bassey's not playing tonight. Flower says Panthers are number 16 for expected goals in December. All right, CJ. Appreciate you, bud. Yeah, how the Sharks coming back on the Penguins, that was wild stuff, man. I mean, when you're talking, and it's so late in the game, too. Did anybody, did you watch the highlights of that? I think it's the San Jose Sharks announcer. I don't remember him by name, but people in the comments were loving him. I guess they played his calls, and you would think they won the Stanley Cup like 3 times that night. And I'm not saying that to be critical. I thought it was great, but he was having a blast with that game, and it just reminded me of what was interesting about it was that when it just depends on who's watching the video, right? Kenneth, yeah, he was losing his mind, but like if teams watch a video where the Panthers come back and Goldie and Randy are losing their mind, then people will say, they'll complain about Goldie and Randy. They'll criticize them. But they weren't doing that for this Sharks announcer, man. He was having too much fun. And it was pretty much universal in the comments that they were thanking the NHL for using the highlights with his call instead of the other team. All right, Jeff, appreciate you, bud. Panthers win 4-1. We'll take it. We'll take it. Take care, brother. Flower says Leafs are 27 and Bruins are 28 for expected goals. I would suspect that we're going to at some point catch the Bruins. Like I keep bringing up where they were last year, 35 points, and they're at 38 points, so they're 3 points ahead of where they were last year. Canadians were way off last year, so there's a lot of hockey to play. Yeah, they were down 5-1 in the third, David, and late too. David says, we have great announcers, but we want the hate. It means they fear us. Yeah, and then, of course, the reaction that people are giving now that the Chiefs are out, just prepare yourself, Panther fans, for the day that eventually comes where the Panthers get not just eliminated from the playoffs, but the day that eventually comes where we get eliminated from making the playoffs, whenever year that is going to be, the reaction from the rest of the NHL is they're going to be dancing in the street and partying all night long with Lionel Richie. Vincent says, how about the Sharks winning the Cup after Panthers in 4 years with Bob and Net, no less? Nick, I'd love that for Nick from Twisted Wrister. I'd love that for Nick. Yeah, no, I get what you're saying, Mythical. Yeah, that's the reaction the Panthers used to get when I started this channel. Everybody loved us. Oh my God, we were everybody's little good job. You guys are so nice. All the Canadian fans would be like, oh, the Panthers are my second team. I hope you guys do good. Oh, it's so good to see somebody that that the Panthers still have fans. We don't get those comments anymore. They've changed. It's changed. Flower says Hockey Red has Panthers ranked 12th and Hockey Guy has us 11th. What I put us that high? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, I could see where we could be at number 12. I could see that. That sounds actually about right. Once at a very cursory glance, it sounds about right. David says, no one hates teams that suck. That's very true. Schrodinger says the reason Hockey Guy ranked Panthers announcers low is because he said they favor the Panthers. Right? Which doesn't make any sense. Of course they favor the Panthers. I don't understand that. I saw that. It's like we had somebody that came to the channel a couple of weeks ago that said I was too biased about the Panthers. It was that, I talked too much about the Panthers or whatever they said. And it was like somebody responded almost like it's a Panthers fan channel. You know what I mean? I got a kick out of it. Craig, I don't really know many of the announcers by name. On my end, anyway. Lechka, yeah, they loathe us when we're bullies. Exactly. Yeah, they want to hear we're doing good as long as you're not doing better than them. Yeah, two time, back to back. Yeah, gotta do it. Yeah, we're likable as long as we're losing. Oh, the guy that retired on the Bruins. What was his name? Didn't he get old though? And I'm not saying that to be mean. Who remembers Chris Moore? Yeah, that's Jack Edwards. You're talking about Jack Edwards. Yeah. So who remembers? Now you're going to have to look up the Panthers announcers over the years. Let's see. Let's know. Florida, not Carolina. All right, let's see. So Jeff Rimmer. Jeff Rimmer was a good one. Who remembers Potvin? Oh my God, he was drunk every broadcast. Lindsay was on for a little while. Minervini was there for a little while. Who remembers Potvin, man? He was a freaking hoot. I liked him. Vincent says Washington guy calls Capitals the good guys. How can you top that? Yeah, the Capitals announcers, we've heard them. We don't necessarily mind them all that much. They're usually pretty neutral-ish. I mean, obviously they're pro-Washington, but anytime we've played the Caps and we've had their announcers, they've never done anything where I feel like triggered. You know what I mean? Where they're like, looking at obvious penalties and saying they're not, or vice versa. So they're pretty good, which might be one of the things that irritates people about Randy and Goldie. I love them to death, but they may be a bit on the over homer side in terms of penalties and whatnot. I remember watching, I think it was still Goldie and Potvin around about 2011, 2012. When was Potvin there? Yeah, Potvin was he was alongside Rimmer. When did Goldie start? He did in 2007. Who was next to Potvin? Was it Rimmer or Goldstein in the 2012 season? Because I just remember that year, especially because we were winning the Southeast, and we were competitive and we were good. And so whether we won or lost games had a little bit more meaning during the season. And I just remember Potvin, just every call that went our way, we never committed a penalty. Everything the other team did, it should have been a call. Like, Potvin was great, but if you were a newer hockey fan, if you didn't know hockey and then you listened to Potvin, you would think that your team never committed a penalty and that everything the other team ever did was suspension worthy. He was awesome, Hungry. Potvin was he was a lot of fun. If you knew hockey, he was fun because he was a trip. But if you were a newer fan trying to learn the game, I found myself having to explain to Kyle that no, that's a penalty. That's a penalty. Like, Potvin would be saying it wasn't, and I'd have to tell Kyle, no, man, that was, you can't do that. You can't do it. David says Achane going to rush for 180 and 3 scores tonight. Steelers run defense not up to the usual standard. Plus, the less tour throws, the better. Let's see what the weather's going to be. Huh? What do we? Oh, God, it's 15 now. Jeez, it's going to be like 10 degrees. Is it going to snow? AccuWeather is saying raindrops, but obviously that can't be right. So there might be a few flurries. Okay. So it's 18 in Pittsburgh right now. It's not real windy, so that's good. And they're supposed to get like a little bit of snow, but no big deal. But it is going to be just frigid. Single digits. I think by the end of the game, probably be in single digits. Dave says, I got my hoodie on today. Low 70s and cloudy with the windy here. Brr. It's still 26. It's 1:45. It's still. Oh, Craig, don't you dare say that. Craig, that's the first game Kyle ever watched in full. That's the first time that we took Kyle to my dad's house and we watched a whole Dolphin game. Was the Mud Bowl. Was the Mud Bowl. And he's like, is this what? And so we spent the whole night telling him this is not really what a normal football game is like. And then Pittsburgh got the field goal at the end. Oh, it was a perfect introduction for Kyle to what it would be to be a Dolphin fan. Boulevard says, listen, I don't like Mahomes and the injury blows. He's going to miss time next season. Probably. Yeah. Kenneth says, can we make it mandatory that Marc-Andre Fleury refs any all-star game the NHL might have in the future? That'd be fun. Yeah, wouldn't that be? When I was a kid in Little League, every year at the end of the season, we would have a kids versus the refs or refs. A kids versus the umpires and the coaches game. So we would have our normal team and we would be up against all the coaches and the umpires. But the kids got to be the umps in the game, not from our team. So like the kids from like another team would be the umpire in the game. And I might have had some fun behind home plate. I might have called some guys out that probably they weren't strikes. I might have done it. You know, they picked me to be home plate umpire because I was a catcher. So I was used to being behind home plate. I do happen to remember calling a called third strike on a pitch that it might have bounced before the plate. It still went over the plate, though. That should be good enough, right? David says, Mahomes is great, but just like the Panthers, you win, you'll get hate. Yep. All right, here's Silva's trade alert. The Vegas Golden Knights have traded Marchessault, Smith, and a thank you note to the Panthers in exchange for future considerations. Oi, Marchessault's in yeah, no, we're good. I don't want no Conn Smythe Marchessault. No, thank you. Oh, these glasses. I gotta get some newer glasses. Now that I'm wearing them all the time, this is really the first time in my life I had to wear glasses all that often. The freaking part of my nose where the glasses rest, I got to get some contacts. These are a pain in the ass. Yeah, he's in Nashville now. Yeah, he looked like he was a couple pizzas short of a delivery there, Kenneth, the last time we saw him. He looking a little thick. You know what I mean? Thick and slow. And not the good kind of thick and slow either. So, yeah, that ship sailed. I still remember beating up that bottle of marshmallow fluff. How many of you remember seeing my reaction to the Marchessault thing? Where I beat up the thing of marshmallow fluff. Cricket strike, hungry, what? Yeah, Vegas could trade players they don't have. That's a good point, Kenneth. If anybody would try to do it, Vegas would. You know, Vegas would, yeah. That's a good point. I still remember that. We had a lot of good stuff in the first year. Kind of you saw, but years later, they gave me so much material back then, man. Like, I had only been doing the channel like maybe 2 weeks, and they fired Gallant and the whole cab controversy came out. Like, they just gave me so much material at the beginning of this channel. Spectacular. Bolvar says, I will say as a Vegas fan, thank you. Panthers gave us a championship, and it made the trade look even worse. The fact of that we gave you Riley Smith so that you would take Marchessault. That's okay, though, because we got 2 cups out of it, and Vegas only got 1. So we won the deal. Oh, my God. That's okay. We've done pretty good in our trades when you really look at it, right? Because the Reinhardt trade, that worked out. The Trocheck trade, that worked out. The Huberdeau Uyghur trade, that worked out. The Bennett trades, that worked out. Silva, yeah, that's what we were told at the time on Twitter, Silva, was that well, I said that in reverse. Yeah, maybe I said that in reverse. We gave them Marchessault. Yeah, I said it backwards, didn't I? We gave them Marchessault so that they would take Riley Smith in his contract. Yeah, I guess I must have said it backwards. Yeah, we said take Riley Smith in his contract, and we'll make sure that you can get Marchessault. Steven says, oh, I really need the Panthers to win today. I'm in a hospital in Tampa. Oh, man. Everything. Oh, you work in a hospital in Tampa. Oh, okay. You were talking about saying we won the trade. Well, I think we did, though. So I understand what you're saying about how the guy we gave away won the Conn Smythe against us. Okay, that's fair. But we still ended up with 2 cups. So I would still say that the move to go from Talon's plan to what the owners had in mind, although it screwed things up for a little while, I think in the end, the owners were kind of proven to be correct in the direction they wanted to bring things. I think that's what I mean. Because that was the whole big switch we had. We had Talon, and everything with Talon was big, strong guys, and Gabranson and Kulikov, and the grit, the heart and soul and the grit, and the Dave Bolins of the world and all of that kind of stuff. That was his whole plan. And when the owners decided, no, we're going to make this freaking left-hand turn and go to analytics, those of us who not really into analytics and are kind of more like the eye test in terms of how we watch hockey. And then, we thought Gabranson was going to get named the captain, and instead he got traded. And I'm talking about a reaction in the moment. You know what I mean? And then they moved on from Kulikov, and we got Demers and Yandel. And so they were trying to make this whole big change. And the interesting thing is that even though we ended up with another kind of a left-hand turn, because we did the whole Huberdeau for Tkachuk thing, in a way they were still accurate in their assessment that Talon's plan wasn't going to work. So maybe it's a situation where both teams worked out, right? We got a cups, they got a cup, but the rest of the trades have worked out pretty good. D Beats, how you doing, bud? Bulvar says, I win the deal in my family because my brother is a Panthers fan. I'm a Vegas fan and can leverage my nieces by saying, well, we won our first cup and we beat the Panthers, so therefore we're better, and I create 2 more Vegas fans. Might end up with a rematch this year, right? Kenneth says, just blame the Pens for losing to the Blackhawks. And Chucky wouldn't have gotten hurt. I asked one way to look at it. That's true. Bovar says, right after that cup run, both of those players turned into a bag of rocks, which just makes you wonder, were they only running on revenge gas? And when they got it, said, okay, I can retire now. Well, Vegas immediately traded Riley Smith and gave Barbashev his money. Was it Smith or Marchessault that they got? I think it was Smith. Because I think Riley was making $5 million and they wanted to pay Barbashev. So they immediately, but you might be right there in terms of revenge gas. Although it's not the worst thing in the world to get sent from Florida to Vegas. Like if you're going to get moved out of Florida, that's, Vegas is probably the next place you'd want to go, right? So, yeah, it was Smith. Yeah, they got rid of Smith to get Barbashev. I never forget that, man. He didn't. Yeah, they got him back later. He didn't last very long. Like, it was not long because the trade deadline was so fast. When did that? It was like, what date was that? June 28th. June 28th is when they traded him, and they won the cup on, what was the date? What was the date? June 13th. Yeah, so it was like 2 weeks later. It was like 2 weeks later when they traded him. Bovar says Smith and Marshy left in free agency the season after. No. Hold on. I thought, yeah, the Vegas Golden Knights traded Riley Smith to the Penguins on June 28th, 2023 for a 24th third round pick. But then they reacquired Smith from the Rangers at the 25 deadline. But the initial trade was June 28th, 2023, shortly after winning the Cup. It says, AI says, why? To create cap space for other players like Aiden Hill and Ivan Barbashev. So they got him back, but the original deal was them trading Smith to the Rangers like 2 weeks after they won the Cup because they're cutthroat. They're mean. They're big meanies. Just ask Andre Fleury. Yeah, it is what it is. And then they ended up getting them back. So, but Riley got good mileage out of his career, that's for sure. No doubt. It must have been the next time that Smith left in free agency, right? Let me see. So because he's still playing in Vegas now. So it's Vegas and then the Penguins and then the Rangers and then Vegas again. He came back home. Wilbur says, no, I meant Smith got traded and mad. He left the season after. Right. Yeah, he got moved around a little bit. Steven says, funny thing, my Tampa co-workers got me more into Florida hockey. I love to trash talk, and as a Colts fan, I couldn't really do that. So I started getting to hockey in hopes of being able to trash talk. Smart move. Yeah. If you want to trash talk, hockey is the place to go, right? You won't. That's in hockey, they have their own. It's the only sport I think that has its own word for trash talk when you chirp. I don't think you talk about chirping. In football, if you trash talk somebody, they give you a blankie and a pacifier and a 15-yard penalty for taunting. You're not allowed. This is bad. Don't be mean. Don't be mean. At some point, there's going to be 15 yards for being a big meanie in the NFL. It's unbelievable what they've turned it into. So it's all good. There's Kyle. All right, everybody, I'm gonna roll. We got a lot going on tonight. 6:15 for the members stream. It'll be on both channels. I'll leave links. And then 7 o'clock, the Panthers. Dolphins start after that, so it's gonna be a double stream. We'll be up on both channels until now. What I'm going to try to do, if I can do, no, I can't do that. The Panthers recap won't be up until after the Dolphins game. Yeah, unfortunately. God, I'm going to try to see if I can work it out. If I don't need the second laptop to Ethernet the football game, which I shouldn't need. So then, what I'm going to try to do is after the Panthers is over and while I'm sitting there streaming with Kyle doing the Dolphin game, I'm going to edit the Panthers recap. So I'm going to try to get the Panthers recap up before the Dolphin game is over. I think that'll try to work out a little bit better. David says there will be blood. Bovar always wanted to get into hockey, but never could till I learned Vegas was getting a team. Yeah. You started paying attention, then decide that's the team to root for. Sure. Silva says, are we all ready for game 6 of the 14-game win streak? I don't remember losing. Yeah, the modern NFL became sarcastic ball from South Park. actually pretty good. I don't remember losing, Silva. I don't remember a game where we lost. Do you? Of course not. All right, everybody. Thanks for hanging out. Appreciate y'all. And I'll see all members at 6:15-ish tonight.